I made a video asking if it was really cheaper to keep an older vehicle. Over 840,000 people watched it, almost 7,000 people commented, and you were right. The costs don't add up. In that last video, a lot of you said the same thing. Your brake costs aren't adding up to enough over 100,000 miles. Well, you were right. Just a few months after that last video, we had to take our Expedition in for the annual state inspection. And we've talked about that in a couple previous videos. You can see we got a fresh inspection here. Pennsylvania state inspection now good through June of 2027. But it cost us some money. All new brakes and rotors all the way around. And it wasn't cheap. So today I want to take all those numbers from the previous videos, add in this new expense, and look at them again. Now, some of you had asked, how did you only go through several sets of brakes in 100,000 miles? Well, when we bought it from the dealership with about 80,000 miles on it, they had just done all the brakes, so they were brand new at that point. Then we drove it and we did brake jobs a couple times, and it turns out just a few months after that last video, we had to do a complete brake job all the way around again. So how does that impact the numbers over the 102,000 miles we've had this vehicle? We just turned over 185,000 miles. So let's take another fresh look at all our repair and maintenance costs over the last 10 years and find out what this has actually cost us now that we just did all those brakes that you guys pointed out. So you can see the brand new brake rotors and pads in there, and that cost us about $860. Now some of you might be saying, that's super cheap. How do you get it done so cheap? It was done by a mechanic. It wasn't done by me while everything else was getting looked over for that annual inspection. So $860, I'm going to break that down for you in the details here of how much it was for the rotors in the front, how much it was for the brake pads in the front, how much it was for the rotors in the back, and how much it was for the brake pads in the back, and then how much it was for labor. So I've responded to some of those comments in the last video about the costs of things here. Here in rural Pennsylvania, our labor rates might be a little bit less expensive than wherever you're at. I've found that here in the rural area, our rates are considerably less than if I took this thing down to the city of Pittsburgh or over to Cleveland. The labor rate and even the cost for parts is higher in the cities than it is here from the small local mechanics and the small local parts stores. Now let's take a fresh look at the updated version of the spreadsheet and what it costs to take us from 80-some thousand miles to 185,000 miles. That's over 102,000 miles of driving. And our cost with that additional $863 in brakes went up 1 penny per mile for repair and maintenance. We went from 7 cents a mile to 8 cents a mile over the last 10 years of driving this Expedition. And when you add up the total cost of this vehicle from the purchase price to all the repairs and maintenance, our cost stayed the same, 24 cents a mile. Because when you divide even the 863 additional dollars over 102,000 miles, it doesn't even impact it 1 penny. Now you'll also see here in the spreadsheet that there have been more repairs lately than earlier on. And this does tend to happen with the vehicle as it ages and as the miles continue to get higher. We've spent over $5,000 in repairs on this vehicle in the last 12 months. Leave a comment down below what you think about that. Over $5,000 in 12 months. Now, some of you have commented in previous videos, once your repair costs get to be more than the cost of a payment, but I'd always like to know, cost of a payment over how long? Over a year? We would have spent way over $5,000 in car payments in a year. If this costs us $5,000 again next year, does that mean it's time to get rid of it and move on to something else? Leave those comments down below what you think. How much money per year is it worth spending on an older vehicle like this? Here's another update for you. Many of you left comments about the ticking noise. Some of you thought it's the timing stuff. We're going to spend thousands of dollars replacing timing chain and all kinds of timing components in the front end of this engine. Turns out, the rest of you were right. It is a leaking exhaust manifold here on the passenger side of this 5.4 liter 3-valve Triton V8 engine. Very common. Pretty costly to replace, so we're not going to do anything about it right now. We understand that some of you left comments about exhaust gases. We aren't having any exhaust gases get into the cabin. We haven't had any O2 sensors that need replaced because of malfunctions due to that exhaust leak. It's just a ticking noise that we've dealt with for the last 2 years. Good to know that it's not major timing components that we're hearing with that ticking. Leave a comment down below if you think I'm making a huge mistake not having that leaking exhaust manifold replaced. Sometimes there are decisions that owners have to make. What things do you want to put money into? Since this isn't hurting anything at this point, we're not going to put the money into it. A lot of people told me they would never trust a vehicle with over 200,000 miles. They said that the reliability just isn't there. Well, ironically, our Chevy Volt just turned over 200,000 miles. And just last month, Jennifer and Mackenzie had this going on a trip to Washington, D.C. Not a super long trip, but not just around home either. While they were driving, grinding noise, getting worse and worse and worse. They called me and they said, "What should we do?" I said, "What does it sound like?" They tried to describe the sound to me. I thought could be one of the brakes, the rotors get rusted over. We've talked about that in the previous videos. Maybe a caliper's bad. Let's just let them get where they're going, get home, and then we'll get it repaired. Well, it got worse and worse and worse. Eventually, the steering wheel started to shake. They found a garage in Washington, D.C. that would take a look at it. He had them immediately FaceTime with me and showed me that 3 of the studs holding the wheel on were broken. That's right, 3 studs were completely sheared and broken off. No lug nuts, no bolts, completely gone. On the Chevy Volt, the front hub bearing is all one piece. So when the bearing started to go bad, it let that wheel torque in and out. That broke off 3 of the wheel studs, and this had to be repaired in Washington, D.C. at city pricing. Yes, it was expensive. No, it wasn't horrible. Yes, it was worth every penny to have it fixed right, to come home so that Jennifer and Mackenzie could get home safely. I went with the OEM part. I always recommend, when you can, using the OEM part, especially because we actually had the bearing and hub assembly replaced on the other side last year. And we discovered that if you don't use the OEM part, there's a lot of wheel speed sensors and ABS sensors that can be negatively impacted by a part that's made by an aftermarket company and doesn't get all the spacing for the sensors made just perfectly correct. Older vehicles do break down. You're absolutely right. Wheel bearings wear out, alternators wear out. Any of that can happen at any time when you've got a high mileage vehicle. There is the potential for failure. But guess what? New vehicles fail too. I mentioned in a previous video, our last F-350 truck broke down multiple times in the first few thousand miles, leaving us stranded away from home. I haven't mentioned it in the video yet, but just a couple weeks ago, my F-150 broke down right at the end of my driveway. Would not move, dead as a doornail, couldn't get it into any gear. Eventually had to go to the dealership and get repaired. It was the shift selector, the gear shift. So I stopped at the end of the driveway to grab the mail, and the shifter was stuck in drive, even though the display said park. Now right now you can see nothing saying anything because I have the 12-volt battery disconnected. Just a faulty mechanism over time, covered under warranty, not a big deal, didn't cost me anything, but a pretty big deal that a fairly new vehicle broke down right in my driveway and couldn't even be moved. Now, before a lot of you jump on the bandwagon and say, well, it's a Lightning, guess what? This problem is happening with lots of F-150s. There is a TSB, or a technical service bulletin, out there, and that's why it gets replaced under warranty, because it is a known potential issue with the gear selectors in a lot of F-150s. So for those of you who assume buying a brand new vehicle means you'll never have any issues, let me assure you, that is not always the case. Now, I can't stand right in front of the new F-350 with the Godzilla engine because it's at camp and I came home for the day to work. But I wanted to give you an update on our latest Blackstone oil analysis report. Remember, I did the oil change because the truck told me it was ready after only 3,000 miles, but it had been a 1-year period. Well, I got that oil analysis back and it's all good news. The Blackstone report shows that the oil was holding up really well. Still plenty of really good additives in that AMSOIL Signature Series oil. It could have gone for longer as far as miles, but it's always a good idea to change the oil after a year. Iron count was really low. I know a lot of you are interested in what's the iron count because people are looking for signs of that camshaft and lifter failure. Well, our Godzilla engine is still doing really well. Do older high mileage vehicles break? Yes, absolutely. We've spent over $5,000 in the last year on this. We spent almost $1,000 getting the Volt fixed away from home. So yes, those costs do add up, but they're still significantly less than if we had a $700 to $1,500 a month car payment. So I guess the real question is, would you rather repair something you already own that's not costing you something every single month? Or would you rather have the peace of mind that isn't always peace of mind of a brand new vehicle with a car payment? Granted, there are exceptions to every rule. You might find an older vehicle that costs you a ton of money because the engine blows up, the transmission goes out, it needs all new suspension, all new tires. It might cost you a fortune to get that older vehicle or keep that older vehicle on the road. Just like you might get a brand new vehicle, and even though you're making the car payments on you, it doesn't cost you a penny for years. Sometimes it can go both ways. Leave a comment down below. What has been your experience with older vehicles and newer vehicles? Which have you had more problems with? Which have you had to put more money into? I'd love to see the math of what your stats are for cost per mile for your vehicle. So from that last video, some of you were right. The brakes did need replaced. There was some additional repair costs there. But even after factoring that in, I'm not convinced buying something newer would have saved us any money. I think in the long run, this vehicle has saved us a lot of money over the last 10 years. I'd still trust this 2009 Ford Expedition with 185,000 miles on a cross-country trip. I'd trust our Ford Bronco. I'd trust our now over 200,000 mile Chevy Volt. Why? Because I know how they've been maintained. Would you trust them? Let us know down below.